They say kindness is power, that being good makes the world better, and good people always win in the end. But what if I told you that's one of the most dangerous lies you've ever believed? Because goodness, real soft-hearted goodness, comes with a cost. And the world rarely tells you what that cost is, until it's too late. Think about it. You've probably been taught since childhood that if you're kind, patient, and helpful, people will like you. That goodness protects you from harm. But life doesn't work that way, does it? You try to do the right thing, and they take advantage. You help someone out, and they forget your name. You forgive, and they use that forgiveness against you. The truth is, most people don't see your goodness as strength. They see it as permission. Permission to take. Permission to walk over you. Permission to drain you dry, and still expect more. That's the hidden side of being good. You become everyone's safe place, but you stop being your own. Modern psychology calls it the good person syndrome. It's when your brain starts confusing being liked with being worthy. You become addicted to approval. You measure your value by how gently you speak, how quickly you say yes, how often you sacrifice yourself for others. And here's the twisted part. Your mind rewards it. Every time someone praises your kindness, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine. That's the same chemical that fires when an addict gets their fix. It feels good, until it destroys you. Because slowly, you stop noticing how tired you are. You stop realizing how much you're giving. You stop hearing that small, angry voice inside you whispering, "What about me?" And then, one day you wake up, and you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You've been so busy being good, you forgot how to be whole. That's where Machiavelli steps in, the man everyone calls ruthless, but few truly understand. He wasn't praising cruelty when he said, "It is better to be feared than loved." He was warning us. He saw how people destroy themselves trying to be loved by everyone. How kings, warriors, and even simple men fell, not because they were evil, but because they refused to defend themselves from the manipulative and the powerful. Being good without boundaries isn't virtue. It's vulnerability. And in a world built on power, that kind of goodness becomes dangerous. Not for others, but for you. Think about your own life. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no? How many times have you helped someone who would never do the same for you? And how many times have you convinced yourself that it's okay? Because that's just who I am. But here's the thing. Kindness isn't meant to break you. It's meant to build connection. When it becomes one-sided, when it starts costing you peace, energy, and dignity, it stops being good. It becomes a cage. The more you hide behind being nice, the smaller your voice becomes. You stop expressing truth. You stop setting limits. And you start living your life for everyone but yourself. Machiavelli understood that power isn't evil. It's essential. Not power to control others, but power to protect yourself. To walk through the world with kindness in one hand and strength in the other. Because if you lead only with kindness, the world will test you. It will take and take until there's nothing left but a quiet, smiling version of the person you once were. And that's the shocking cost of goodness. It's not money. It's not reputation. It's you. You pay with your time, your peace, your self-respect. Until one day you realize, being good never meant being silent. It meant being true, even when it makes others uncomfortable. So, the question isn't, how can I be good? It's, how can I be good without losing myself? Because that's where real strength begins. They called him ruthless, cold, a manipulator who believed fear ruled better than love. But here's what they never told you. Machiavelli wasn't teaching cruelty. He was describing reality. He saw people for what they were, not what they pretended to be. Behind every polite smile, every noble word, every promise of goodness, he saw the quiet, trembling hunger for power. He studied kings who ruled with charm, leaders who fell because they trusted too easily, and men who tried to survive by being good, and were crushed by those who weren't. What he discovered was dark, but true. Human nature doesn't worship goodness. It worships strength. We say we want honesty, but we follow confidence. We say we want kindness, but we obey power. And that's not because people are evil. It's because fear commands attention. You can see it everywhere. In offices, in politics, in families, even in love. The one who speaks louder, moves faster, acts certain, becomes the leader. Not because they're right, but because our minds are wired to follow dominance. Modern psychology has a name for this: social dominance theory. It says humans naturally organize into hierarchies, like wolves in a pack. And every person you meet is silently reading your signals, your tone, your posture, your boundaries. They're asking, are you prey or are you power? When you're endlessly kind, endlessly forgiving, endlessly understanding, you may think you're being noble. But to the wrong person, you've just announced, I can be used. Machiavelli wrote, men are ungrateful, fickle, and deceitful. That wasn't bitterness, it was observation. He saw how quickly love disappears when power shifts, how loyalty fades when fear fades too. And yet, here's the twist. He never said fear was better than love. He said if you must choose, fear is safer. Because fear keeps people from crossing lines that love alone can't defend. Love can be betrayed. Fear keeps its promises. But that doesn't mean you have to become cruel. It means you must become complete. There's a power in being both gentle and dangerous. A balance between kindness and command. A person who can smile softly, but still draw the line with steel. Psychologically, we call this assertiveness. The art of being firm without being cruel. It's the middle path between submission and aggression. And it's what truly powerful people master. You can hear it in the calm voice that says, no, that doesn't work for me. You can see it in the steady eyes that meet pressure without flinching. You can feel it in those who carry kindness, not as weakness, but as choice. Because that's the secret Machiavelli hid in plain sight. Power isn't domination. It's control over yourself. The world belongs not to the heartless, but to those who can stay kind in a ruthless world, without being destroyed by it. And yet, most people never learn this. They grow up thinking that to be loved is to be safe. So they keep pleasing, apologizing, and shrinking, hoping love will protect them. But love without respect is a fragile shield. And the moment someone stops fearing to lose you, they stop valuing you. So here's the truth Machiavelli whispered between his words. To be loved truly, you must first be respected. To be respected, you must first show strength. And strength, real strength, isn't loud or cruel. It's silent, controlled, certain. The kind that smiles while saying no. The kind that forgives, but never forgets. The kind that helps others, but never at the cost of itself. Because in the end, power and goodness aren't enemies. They're twins, born from the same heart. And the one who learns to hold both never has to choose between being loved or feared again. They say fear is the enemy of love. But what if fear is the only thing that protects it? Every relationship, every friendship, every alliance quietly runs on two invisible forces: affection and control. Too much affection, and people take you for granted. Too much control, and they rebel. The balance between the two is what Machiavelli called the art of survival. He understood something few people do: that fear isn't always violence. Sometimes fear is respect. It's the moment someone pauses before lying to you. It's the thought that flickers before they decide to cross you. It's the invisible line that says, "Don't mistake my kindness for weakness." That's power. Quiet, psychological power. And most people never learn how to wield it, because we've been taught to avoid fear, to stay soft, to keep the peace, to never raise our voice. We think that being calm will earn understanding, but psychology shows the opposite. In every social group, there's a hierarchy, and the brain, deep in its primitive wiring, responds not to words, but to presence, to tone, to confidence, to the ability to say no and mean it. When you never show your edge, when you never let people feel your limits, they subconsciously assume you don't have any. And that's when you lose control. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago in the courts of Florence. He watched kings fall, not from betrayal, but from forgiveness. He saw gentle rulers slaughtered by those they once trusted, because they believed love alone could hold power together. It never did. It never will. Even modern psychology proves this. In leadership studies, the most respected figures are those who balance warmth with authority. Too cold and people resist. Too warm and people take advantage. But the one who walks between, the leader who's fair, calm, and unafraid to enforce consequences, that's who the human mind naturally follows. You can see it in life everywhere. In families, in workplaces, in nations. Fear and love dance in constant rhythm. Without love, fear turns to tyranny. Without fear, love turns to manipulation. So when Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both," he wasn't preaching cruelty. He was defining balance. Because the one who can be both rules not through terror, but through truth. And truth is what fear really is. It's not monsters under the bed. It's the awareness of consequence. It's the understanding that actions matter, that crossing someone with self-respect will cost something. Imagine this: a person who speaks kindly, helps others, and forgives easily. But when you try to manipulate them, they stop smiling. They look you in the eye and simply say, "Don't." That silence, that certainty, that's Machiavellian mastery. Not evil, just unbreakable self-control. Because power isn't about forcing fear into others. It's about embodying such calm, confident strength that people choose not to test you. That's what modern psychologists call earned authority, and it's born from a strange paradox. You can only be truly kind when you're strong enough not to need approval. You can only offer real love when you're unafraid of losing it. That's the psychology of fear and control. Not domination, not manipulation, but equilibrium. Fear maintains structure. Love gives it meaning. And together, they create the only kind of respect that lasts. Because when people both love you and fear disappointing you, you no longer need to chase their loyalty. They give it freely. So maybe fear isn't the enemy after all. Maybe it's the shadow that protects the light. And those who learn to walk with both never bow to either.